So the other day I was having a problem with my ZORTRAX M200, and that was that the filament kept stripping, especially if I was trying to use ABS or something. It would strip and then it would stop extruding and the print would fail. What I discovered is that after multiple failed and frustrating attempts to get it to work, I realized that there must be something wrong with the drive motor gear or the drive motor itself, or the idler bearing that presses the filament against the drive motor gear. One symptom that helps to identify the cause of the stripping and failed extrusion is that the gear teeth are not digging into the filament very deeply. Normally, the gear teeth would dig much deeper into the filament than this. That indicated to me that there was something wrong with either the drive gear or the idler. So the motor comes out by removing these 4 screws and then removing the connector off of the PCB in the back and sliding the motor out. And as soon as I removed the motor, I noticed that there's a lot of wear here from the idler bearing. And then I started finding parts of the idler bearing, and you can see this idler bearing is toast. I mean, it's completely fallen apart, and the little tiny ball bearings have mostly fallen out. The race is toasted. The shields were just like burnt up, so this had a total failure. And this looks like bearings that I've taken apart from high-speed industrial motors before, where they're just like totally trashed like this. I mean, I only found 1 or 2 of the balls left. So I needed to find another idler bearing. So this idler bearing has a 3mm inner diameter, 7mm outer diameter, and a 3mm width. So that's known as a 683 ZZ bearing. And I purchased one off Amazon that said NSK brand, and NSK is a good quality bearing brand, but it arrived in this type of packaging, and I'm not really sure that that's an actual NSK packaging. I feel like there would be more detailed labeling. And the bearings look fine, but the point is that you can buy way more bearings for the same price, although this was like $10 for 5 bearings, so whatever, I'm not sweating it. But we'll see as to the longevity of these bearings. But the quality looks good. I don't see any markings on the race or the shield. This is where the bearing goes in. It looks like it just goes straight over that screw. Slide the motor back in. And for the top screws, I've made a special heat sink that goes up here and draws the heat away from the motor and the extruder gear. And all set now. The bearing replacement was super easy once I got the replacement bearings. So replacing the idler bearing fixed the filament feed and stripping issue that was happening before. Now when I hold the filament, I can get the motor to jump, but it's not stripping the filament. It's just continuing to drive. So the drive gear has a very strong engagement with the filament, and this is just ABS. I did, however, afterwards have a very frustrating clog with the nozzle. What I discovered is that one of the tiny little ball bearings from the bearing had fallen down into the extruder and was clogging the nozzle. So the bearings are small, but they're big enough to clog the nozzle for sure. I'd take off the nozzle and heat it up with a heat gun and extract it with a drill bit to kind of pull out the plastic from the back of the nozzle, and then pass a wire through to try to get everything out as much as I could. Took a few times to get it right.